A guide to growing parsley. This fresh and mild herb is widely used in a variety of dishes. While also adding a fragrant punch to soups and salads, parsley is also high in some essential vitamins, like vitamin K and vitamin A. Parsley varieties. There are 3 main types of parsley to choose from. Curly varieties include Extra Curled Dwarf, a dark green variety with sharply edged curled leaves. Forest Green. The leaves of this productive variety are double and triple curled. Green River. It has double curled leaves, is very heat tolerant, and is great for drying. Flat leaf varieties include Plain Leaf, a dark green celery leaf type of parsley. Giant of Italy, a variety with huge dark green leaves, strong stems, and a sweet flavor. Dark Green Italian, a variety with strong taste, celery-like leaves, and stiff, upright stems. Turnip Rooted. This variety, with its flat leaves, is mainly grown for its large edible root. Before planting, try soaking parsley seeds in water overnight. This can help with the germination process, since parsley seeds are typically very slow to germinate. Parsley seeds can then be sown indoors, about a 1/4 inch, 5 millimeters deep into the soil. Then, seedlings can be thinned to 6 to 8 inches, 15 to 20 centimeters apart, once they're about 1 to 2 inches, 2.5 to 5 centimeters tall. When starting seeds outdoors, sow them 1 1/4 inch, 3 centimeters deep, spaced out 3 inches, 8 centimeters apart, and in rows that are 12 to 18 inches, 30 to 45 centimeters apart. Parsley prefers rich acidic to basic soil, with a pH between 6.0 and 7.0. This herb grows best in well-draining soils in the sun or in partial shade, and that shade is most important when parsley is grown in hot summers. This herb can handle light frosts at temperatures between 28 to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, -2 to 0 degrees Celsius, and it will also grow all winter if protected well, like by a layer of mulch. Clip any flower stalks if they appear in the first year of growth to keep the parsley plant productive. As well, if 1 or 2 parsley plants are allowed to produce seeds, those plants will usually self-sow again. During their seedling stage, about 3 to 4 weeks old, feed your plants some starter solution. This will help to give them a nice boost. As well, mulch helps parsley plants overwinter outdoors. Organic matter like straw, hay, or grass clippings are all great ways to keep parsley safe in the colder months. Transplanting best practices. Transplant parsley outside once the plants have 4 to 5 leaves. Before they go in the ground, though, harden off the seedlings by lowering their water and temperature levels. Then, set them outdoors in a sheltered spot for about a week before transplanting. This process toughens up the plants and reduces their risk of shock and stress from the new outside elements. To transplant, make a hole that's big enough to accommodate the root ball. Gently take out the plant and loosen the soil around the root ball before planting it into the hole. After the parsley plant has its new home, it will need a nice drink of water. Companion plants' do's and don'ts. Carrots, chives, onions, corn, tomatoes, peas, and peppers are all great veggies to grow with parsley. Also, blooming parsley attracts hoverflies and predatory wasps, which can be beneficial for so many plants in the garden. Don'ts. Mint has spreading roots that will easily overtake other plants, so avoid planting it with parsley. As well, lettuce is not a good companion for parsley. Parsley will grow well in every structure: raised beds, open fields, containers, and more, and will also thrive inside. Just make sure that the parsley plant is getting its light and soil needs, and that it's not planted next to mint. When growing parsley inside the whole year round, keep it in a sunny spot, like on a windowsill. Containers. The great thing about containers is that parsley can be brought inside to keep it alive during the winter. The minimum container size should be about 5 inches in diameter for each plant, and containers will need to have holes in the bottom to allow for good water drainage. Mason jar. This is a decorative way to grow parsley, both indoors and outdoors. Set parsley transplants into the jar, keeping in mind that direct seeding doesn't work the best for this option. If possible, drill some holes in the bottom for drainage, or put some stones or pottery shards in the bottom to avoid getting the parsley roots too wet. Once the plant is outgrowing its jar, it can then be transferred into a bigger jar or any other container. Cabbage worm. This caterpillar is gray-green in color and slightly fuzzy. After it eats the leaves of plants, it leaves holes and wet green droppings behind. Here's what to do. Hand-pick cabbage worms if you find them on any plants. There are also natural enemies like spiders, ground beetles, and parasitic wasps that will feed on these cabbage worms, which can be an effective and organic solution. Also, weeds attract and shelter these pests, so it's important to keep weed growth under control. Cabbage worms can also be prevented and controlled by using row cover or insect netting when sowing or transplanting. Cross-striped cabbage. These worms lay their eggs in batches on the lower part of a leaf's surface. Those larvae will then eat the leaves, which can cause them to become skeletonized with lots of holes. Here's what to do. Hand-pick the larvae and eggs off of any affected plants. As well, insecticidal sprays might also be helpful against the cross-striped cabbage worm. Bacterial blight. A disease that causes water-soaked spots to appear on leaves. Those spots will grow and turn brown, while also being surrounded in yellow. And when the lesions come together, plants develop a burned appearance. At this point, any leaves that die will remain attached to the plant. Bacterial blight will also stunt the growth of plants, and it can be spread by water, wind, animals, or people. Here's what to do. Plant certified disease-free seeds when possible, and practice good crop rotation. Use drip watering methods, or any watering method that focuses on only watering the base of the plant. Avoid splashing water onto plants, and make sure the plant leaves are kept nice and dry. As well, ensure good ventilation and air movement by spacing plants properly. This will also help reduce any humidity around those plants. It's also important to control the growth of any nearby weeds. Another thing that can be done to avoid disease is to treat seeds with an antibiotic before planting to kill off the bacteria. Finally, spray plants with a protective copper-based fungicide before any disease symptoms appear. Carrot leaf blight. Typically, small brown spots surrounded by yellow will appear on the leaves of an infected plant. And when this disease infection is severe, leaves can become completely dry. This fungus usually attacks the old leaves first, and then spreads to the rest of the plant. Here's what to do. It's important to remove and destroy any infected plants. Plant disease-free seeds when possible, and/or treat seeds with 122 degrees Fahrenheit, 50 degrees Celsius water for 20 minutes before planting the seeds. This exposure to hot water will help kill off the disease before seeds are planted. Powdery mildew. Small white patches will appear on the upper and lower leaf surfaces, which might also show some purple blotching. Patches often come together to form a dense powdery layer, coating the leaves and causing the leaves to curl inward. In some cases, eventually the leaves will drop from the plant. Typically, the white patches start on the older leaves and then eventually spread to other plant parts. Powdery mildew is brought on by high humidity and moderate temperatures, 60 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, or 16 to 27 degrees Celsius, with symptoms becoming most severe in shaded areas. As well, this disease often acts as an entry point for other pests and diseases. Here's what to do. First, rotate crops so that members of the same family aren't planted in the same spot year after year. In general, a 3-year rotation is a good place to start. Plant disease-resistant varieties when possible, and then provide good air circulation by not crowding the plants and by eliminating weeds. Water plants in the morning to give them enough time to dry out, taking care not to get the plant's leaves wet. Consider spraying infected plants with certain protectant, preventative fungicides. Sulfur, lime sulfur, neem oil, and potassium bicarbonate are all effective. But these remedies will work best when they are used before the infection happens, or when signs of the disease are first spotted. Instead of chemical fungicides, plants can also be sprayed with a bicarbonate solution by simply mixing 1 teaspoon of baking soda in 1 quart of water. Make sure to spray the plants thoroughly, since the solution will only kill fungi that it comes into contact with. Also, potassium bicarbonate, which is similar to baking soda, can actually eliminate powdery mildew once it's there, and does the job fairly quickly. As well, after the growing season, make sure to dispose of any infected leaves or fruit. Once plants are heavily infected with powdery mildew, it's difficult to get rid of the disease, so focus on preventing it from spreading to other plants. Septoria leaf spot. Water-soaked circular or angular spots will appear on the leaves of affected plants, and the lower leaves will then have a greasy greenish appearance. Lesions are usually gray with a darker edge, though some may have a narrow yellow border. Tiny black fungal growths can also sometimes appear in the lesions. When plants are affected with Septoria leaf spot, the leaves of these plants will eventually start to die. Here's what to do. Plant high-quality seeds that are free of diseases. Also practice a 3-year crop rotation and avoid overhead watering. It's also important that crops are planted with enough space to allow for good air circulation. Harvesting. Parsley can be harvested almost year-round because their branches always regrow. Usually, parsley is picked leaf by leaf. Storage. Either put parsley in the fridge or in a jar with its stems and some water for fresh storage. Parsley doesn't usually hold its flavor very well when it's dried. However, it's still well suited for freeze drying. Try freezing fresh leaves in ice cube trays for later use. As well, parsley can be used in vinegars or as parsley herbed butter. Yum!